For centuries, the name Christopher Columbus has been synonymous with exploration, discovery, and the daring spirit of a new world. He is hailed as the man who found America, charting a course that forever changed the course of human history. But beneath the glorious veneer of achievement, a darker truth lies buried. The truth of exploitation, enslavement, and the systematic devastation of entire cultures. Who was the real Columbus? A visionary explorer or a ruthless conqueror? This is his story. In 1492, under the patronage of the Spanish monarch, Christopher Columbus set sail, determined to find a westward sea route to Asia. After weeks at sea, he made landfall in the Caribbean, believing he had reached the East Indies. He encountered the Taíno people, the indigenous inhabitants of the islands. His initial description spoke of their generosity, their peaceful nature, and their nakedness. Columbus claimed this new land for Spain, renaming Guanahani as San Salvador. He recorded his impressions in his journal, noting the beauty of the land and the potential for converting the Indians to Christianity. This moment is often celebrated as the dawn of a new era. But for the Taíno, it marked the beginning of an unimaginable nightmare. Columbus's primary motivation, like many European explorers of his time, was gold. He returned to Spain with samples and promises of immense riches, securing funding for even larger expeditions. On a second voyage, he brought a formidable fleet and hundreds of men, establishing the first European colonies in the Americas. His directives from the crown included converting the natives and finding gold. When the gold proved less abundant than anticipated, Columbus implemented a brutal system. Every Taíno over the age of 14 was ordered to collect a certain quota of gold dust. Those who failed had their hands cut off. If gold wasn't available, they were enslaved, forced into labor on plantations, or sent back to Spain as commodities. This was justified under the guise of discovery and religious conversion. The Taíno, a peaceful people, resisted, but their simple weapons were no match for Spanish steel, crossbows, and firearms. The Spanish responded with overwhelming force, massacring entire villages. Beyond direct violence, European diseases like smallpox, measles, and influenza against which indigenous populations had no immunity swept through the islands with devastating speed. Within decades of Columbus's arrival, the Taíno population, estimated to be hundreds of thousands or even millions, was decimated. By 1550, only a few hundred remained. This wasn't merely a decline. It was a near-total annihilation, a tragic consequence of colonization. Even by the standards of his time, Columbus's governance was seen as excessively cruel and inept. Reports of his brutality and mismanagement reached Spain. In 1500, a royal administrator was sent to Hispaniola to investigate. Columbus and his brothers were arrested and sent back to Spain in chains, stripped of much of his authority. Though eventually pardoned and allowed one more voyage, his reputation within the Spanish court was severely tarnished. His methods, though in line with the harsh realities of conquest, were considered too extreme even by his patrons. For centuries, history books celebrated Columbus as a hero, a symbol of progress and the age of discovery. But as the voices of indigenous peoples and a more nuanced historical understanding have emerged, this narrative has been challenged. Today, many view him not as a discoverer, but as an invader. Not a hero, but a figure who initiated centuries of colonialism, slavery, and cultural destruction. His arrival marked not a moment of glory, but the beginning of profound suffering and loss for the native peoples of the Americas, a trauma that continues to resonate to this day. The legacy of Christopher Columbus is complex and contested. He undeniably opened the door for European expansion into the Americas, irrevocably changing the world's geopolitical landscape. But this discovery came at an immense and often overlooked cost: the eradication of ancient civilizations, the theft of lands, and the brutal exploitation of human beings. Understanding the full scope of Columbus's impact, both the heroic and the dark, is crucial for a complete and honest reckoning with our shared history. It reminds us that progress, when built on the suffering of others, casts a long and enduring shadow. THOs of 1492 still reverberate, calling us to remember that history is rarely as simple as our triumphs suggest.